I'm going to invite the deacons to come up and take the offering up now. Today we're talking about awakening. And you may have heard that word coming through up here on stage a little bit in the past couple of weeks. And that's because we really believe that, as a church family, we are all in need of some kind of awakening. And so as Dad, or Karl as you may know him, was preparing to preach this morning, he wrote this song, and he's called it Awake I-58. And it's a song for you, it's a song for me, it's a song for our church. And so we'd love to sing it for you this morning, and then we're going to give you a chance to join us and sing it a bit later on in the program today. But it's a beautiful song, straight out of the Bible, talking about and praying for an awakening for all of us. And so that's our prayer for you this morning. And so, as you participate in giving, please, listen to the words and be blessed by this song.
Break the chains, untie the cords, set them free, break every bond that binds them. Food for the hungry, shelter for the poor. These are the things that our God cries for. Then your light will shine, healing will fall like rain. Holy Spirit, come, awaken me. The battle is already won. Awaken me. Your kingdom now has come. Awaken me. Break the chains, untie the cords, set them free, break every bond that binds them. Food for the hungry, shelter for the poor. These are the things that God's heart cries for. Then your light will shine, healing will fall like rain. Holy Spirit, come. Your light, then your light will shine, healing will fall like rain. Oh God, hear our cry. Awaken me. The battle is already won. Awaken me. Your kingdom now has come. Awaken me. The battle is already won. Awaken me. Your kingdom now has come. Awaken me. Awaken me. Awaken me. Amen.
Never write a song at 6 o'clock in the morning when you've just had Weet-Bix and you record it on your phone and it sounds horrible. But the good thing is, if you have a Resonate in the family, You can give them anything and they will make it. That was miles better than what I'm sure, miles better than what I did. And thank you, Resonate. Make me look good. Yeah, thank you. How's your heart this morning? I don't know if you've been hearing language around church recently. Lots of language around awakening, lots of language around waking up. And this is what I want to share with you this morning, because I think our faith community really is going somewhere with this. Our faith community really is going somewhere with Isaiah 58. Our faith community really is going somewhere with wanting to be awake and not asleep. And I'm excited about that. I want to tell you a story about Jonah. If I say Jonah, you say, and the... Yeah, that's what we all said. I remember when I was little, and I couldn't wait to get to Sabbath school because somebody had made a whale, not life-size, obviously, but a whale big enough for a kid to go and sit inside the whale, and there was a little window, and you could wave at the other kids while you're in the whale. And so my introduction to the story of Jonah and the whale was this feeling of comfort and joy and happiness. Actually, Phil, I think your dad made the whale. I'm pretty sure it was Phil's dad that made the whale. Phil and I grew up in Christchurch together, and Phil's dad was really handy, and I know he made a lot of stuff. I'm just going to say it was Phil's dad who made the whale. And that brought us a lot of joy. But can I tell you the story about Jonah? And I wonder how you feel about this story when you hear a little bit of context around the story of Jonah. So just very quickly, because I'm hungry and I'm looking at the clock, just real quickly, this is the best clock I've got, this one. So I should stay on time. Just really quickly, we first hear about Jonah, not in the book of Jonah, but we hear about Jonah in the second book of Kings. And in the second book of Kings, we find out that Jonah is the prophet of a king who's getting a really hard time by these people called the Assyrians. And what the Assyrians were doing to the Israelites, who were God's people. So the Assyrians, as far as the Israelites could, in their experience, were bad people, and the Israelites were God's people. But in the story, God's people are getting beaten up by the bad people, the Assyrians, and what they're doing to the Israelites is that they are invading them, they are deporting them, and they are laying siege to their cities. So we have no idea what any of that's like. We've never been invaded, but if we were to be invaded by Australia, because they're angry at us over Manus Island or whatever it is they get angry at us over, it's not nice. I would imagine it would be a horrible experience. And back in those days, when the Assyrians invaded, just Google the Assyrians, ancient Assyrians, and read what they did to people when they invaded them. They killed them, they slaughtered them, they tortured them. And then there was the deporting. The deporting is when you take somebody from their home, from their land, from their family, you take them away from that and you take them miles and miles away, you dump them in another country in the middle of the desert so that you can have their land and their houses and maybe some of their family. That's deporting. And then the sieging, I kind of feel that being laid siege to is the worst, because what they would do is they would come to your city and they would surround it and they would camp there sometimes for years. And they would camp there so long, they would cut off all your supply, nothing can get in, nothing can get out. And can I just paint the picture of how horrible this is? There's a verse in 2 Kings that talks about a siege, and a mother yells out to the despondent king who's walking around in the streets of Samaria, and she yells out to the king, "King, give me justice." And of course the king looks up at her, everybody is starving, the water is rancid, everybody is dying and getting sick. And the woman says to the king, "King, I need justice. I made a deal with my neighbor yesterday that we would have her son for dinner." And I don't mean as a guest. And she said, "If we have your son for dinner, then we can have my son the following day." And so now we are today, and we're supposed to have my son for dinner, and she has hidden him. O king, give me justice. This is what the Assyrians were doing to the Israelites. And one day Jonah's God says to Jonah, Jonah, I want you to go to that great city of Nineveh, and I want you to deliver a message from me. Nineveh is in Assyria. It's in Assyria. Jonah runs, as you do. So would you. I would. Jonah goes and finds the nearest port, and he jumps on a boat, and as the narrative goes, God sends a storm. The storm comes, and the sailors say to Jonah, hey, is this anything to do with your God? And he says, yeah, it is, if you just throw me overboard. So they throw him overboard. The storm stops. A whale, it's not even a whale actually, it says a fish. It doesn't mention a whale anywhere, but it's funny, Jonah and the whale. This fish comes along and it swallows Jonah for 3 days, and then it spits him out, and Jonah goes and tells the message that God has, which is, you are going to be destroyed for your sins. And then he goes and sits on top of a hill to watch the fireworks, and he's delighted because these Assyrians are his enemies. And the fireworks doesn't happen. And the book of the story of Jonah ends with Jonah being so upset that God has not dealt to his enemies, that he wishes he could die. And the story ends with a question, and the question is this: Jonah, should I not show mercy to 120,000 people who don't know their right hand from their left? Should I not show mercy? It's a funny story because all the roles are mixed up. Jonah is the God-man, but we don't read about Jonah praying. What we actually find in the first chapter of Jonah is that these heathen sailors are praying and offering sacrifices and trusting in God, not Jonah. The roles are mixed up. Normally we would find that the God people are the people that are asking for forgiveness. Normally we would find that it's the God people that are crying out to God for freedom, but we don't read any of that in the story. The only ones crying out forgiveness and for a change of heart and for their hearts to be softened are the heathens. The only ones doing that. It's a funny old story, the story of Jonah. This story is not about the whale. The story is about God's great love for all people. For all people. This story is about forgiving even your enemies. This story is about dropping the dualistic labels that we place on people and places. This story is about a God who is wanting to do more restoring and more reconciling than we can imagine. This story isn't about the whale. Have you noticed? Have you noticed that there's always something deeper? Something not so obvious, something just lurking under the surface, something more going on with God and humanity. And if this is true, should we be surprised if we were to discover that there has been something more going on here at Papsda this year? If you come out here on a Sunday morning, you see a whole bunch of families out on this field playing soccer. A lot of these people don't worship here, but they heard that we have a thing called Epic. And that Epic puts on soccer on a Sunday morning, and they can come and play here. And so we see mums and dads and kids on a Sunday morning. When 360 went to Kaitaia, after we finished there, with the third year that we've been. Next year, the pastor at Kaitaia Church says, this is getting too big. Next year, we're going to have to go to the town hall. There's something happening here at Papsda. Life groups, man. I get the privilege of serving in this area of church with our life groups, and I just see phenomenal things happening in life groups where people find a safe place to be real and can come with their mess and they get prayed over. And do we see deliverance in our life groups? And it's amazing. Our baptisms, our worship. I see growing hospitality. Somebody heard that a kid in this congregation lost their scooter. Didn't lose it, he got stood over. Do you know what that means? He got bullied and somebody took his scooter and now he doesn't have a scooter. This kid, he can't afford another scooter. He was lucky to have that one. Somebody from this church, somebody from this faith community heard about that and went and bought this kid a scooter, but not just any scooter. You should have seen the look on this kid's face when he got the scooter. Beautiful thing. Mag wheels? No, I don't know. But it was beautiful. Hospitality in our faith community is growing. I'm noticing that people are just starting to foster. There's fostering of young people starting to happen. People who are at a life stage where they have a spare room and they're at a stage of life where they can do something more are starting to take on young people who would otherwise be orphan, and they're starting to foster them in their home. We have a young lady who just 3 weeks ago had no hope, no prospects, no schooling. And because somebody in this faith community took her into their home and worked with her mum, this girl, oh man, praise the Lord, is on her way to doing an apprenticeship as a chef at Sky City. Something, yeah, something. Something is happening. Hearts are opening to the need. 60s plus, I only hear about 60s plus because my mum and dad are in it now. In their 80s, they've decided, yeah, we're ready for 60s plus. They love it, Kira, wherever you are. They love the fellowship and the awesome things that you do in that. Pastoral care, I was with Bridget in her office and she showed me this list. Pastoral care, the names they're longer than my arm. The people that need care in our faith community. But you know what I saw Bridget do? She didn't try and answer and ring those people herself. She started ringing some of you. Some of you. And some of you have started to stand up and go, I can pastorally care for that person. Something is happening in our community. We started this year by asking God for more fruits of the Spirit. And I believe we are seeing God responding to hearts that are beginning to awaken to His kingdom vision for Papsda. It's as if God is doing something, taking us somewhere. Earlier this year, Norman asked me to put some thinking around discipleship, a pathway for discipleship for us, for Papsda. And what you see being drawn up live by Moala, who's just sitting over there, but it's cool, eh? She's just drawing right now and it's coming up. That's amazing. Is this pathway, and it's based on our mission statement, and I want you to see our mission statement if we can throw that up. The mission statement says this: our mission is to restore and reconcile people to God and each other by hearing their story and sharing God's story. We are hearing more and more conversation from you around what you see happening at Papsda, where it's heading, what its priorities are, what its calling is. Some of us are excited about what is unfolding, and some of us feel unsure and sometimes challenged by what we are seeing. I'm just going to ask two people to come up this morning and just share. Andrew and Priscilla. And I'm just kind of getting to know these guys because we are in a Sabbath morning discussion group together. And our discussion group is really, it's quite, what's the word? I can't find the word. But it's very diverse. That's the word. It's very diverse. And these guys are part of that group. And so I just wanted them to share what they're seeing happening here at Papsda this year. Thanks. Andrew.
Thanks, Karl. So, yeah, Karl invited me up here because we had a conversation at the marriage seminar, and he said...
We didn't go together, by the way.
No. So, you know, if you want it back a bit, would it be 6 months ago, we had two groups merge. There was a group meeting in the Lower West Ring foyer lobby area, and our group was going through that group to get up to the upper west wing. And they were probably, again, as Karl said, diverse groups. The group that was already meeting in the upper west wing was probably people who had been coming here for a longer period of time, and the people from the lower west wing were the new people. So somehow we had put our new members in the entranceway. So Karl talked to us, and we agreed it would be a good idea to merge the groups. And I'd like to say that it's been a fantastic experience for us to hear from people like Carla and Marie. We had Colin join us this morning, and it's been really, really good. As a long-term Adventist, I would say it's quite challenging to hear stories that are uncomfortable, very uncomfortable at times. And Karl asked me to share a little bit about the wider journey of Papsda. And for those who've been around a long time, they will know that I've been here since probably the mid-90s. And I think the reason I come here is for two purposes. One is the worship style, contemporary, and very grace-based. And it's always kind of had a service focus, even back in Russell Wilcox's day, we were doing things, painting and gardens and etc. But, you know, to me, it's been changing. Isaiah 58 particularly brought on ICANN 58 and a sense of community. And we've been seeking, I guess, to share our message and not monopolise hope. Karl's mentioned a lot of outreach. That outreach is happening locally, but also internationally, and I think that that's a really inspirational aspect. And what I think is really quite challenging for us all is what if all these programs succeed? How will we accommodate these people? Who will reach out to them? And so I just wanted to leave you with those thoughts this morning. Thank you.
Good.
For me, I'm kind of new to Papsda. It's been just a little over a year, but I grew up in an Adventist home back in Brazil, and my parents were always very involved at church, and I think our lives just went around church. Even my dad was called the Lock, because he was the last one to leave the church every Sabbath. And it was just everything. It was going to the kids' classes, it was singing groups, pathfinders, everything. The whole weekend, the whole week, we were back at church. So I thank my parents, because I did grow up in a community that was really involved in serving, and it had a big impact in my life. And when I came to Papsda, before coming here, life has just taken me pretty much all around the world. So I've seen a lot of different churches and different styles, different ways of sharing Jesus. And it has taught me a lot. It has taught me to be tolerant, to be accepting, and to understand that God has different ways to touch people's lives. But coming to Papsda, for me, was like, one word to describe would be intentional. That's what I think, because Papsda is intentional about reaching out, is intentional about showing unconditional love. And I've seen that. I'm involved with Epic, helping with the little ones. And it's from there, it's from the kids' classes, when we feel the acceptance. It doesn't matter how you come, how you are here, and we're celebrating that you are here. And it flows through the group, the Bible group we have up there. And same thing I've felt, is just that unconditional love that people feel to be able to open up and share struggles, share how things are going in their lives, because they feel accepted. And when I think why we are here, I want my kids to grow in an environment like this, that they learn to be accepting, to be forgiving, to show grace, and above all, to live an authentic Christian life. So that's what I've been seeing at Papsda.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you. So for the last little while, I've been praying, drawing diagrams, listening to podcasts, reading books, and thinking as deeply as I can about what discipleship might look like here. Discipleship, an old-sounding word that I think simply means applying the radical Jesus method, not the best practice method, not the TED Talk method, not the corporate method, to our lives in our context. I've been sharing this model with our staff team, and each time we've shared thoughts, the model has become more. It's been shared with our elders, and today I share it with you. I hope that each time we share it, new input can be heard and applied so that we discover something that really resonates with us, the Papsda faith community. I'm also hoping that this serves to open up opportunities for discussion for all, irrespective of where you sit. But more than anything else, I pray that this model helps awaken us to the more God has been doing this year and the more he has in store for everyone and everything that he loves, for which he is seeking to restore and reconcile. So let me try and explain. The model is really simple. We wanted to come up with a model that you could draw on a napkin, just a simple crisscross deal. And you see here we've got the words self and ego. Self and ego is that thing that when people start a journey with God, and by the way, it doesn't matter if you are new to a faith community or whether you've been sitting in the seats of a faith community for many years. You can still be distant from God, mainly because of what Paul talks about often is self and this thing called ego. You can have a healthy ego, but you can also have an overinflated ego and a deflated ego. And often this is what separates us from God. So when we start this journey of following Christ, we start at the furthest point from God. We really only care about what we care about. We really only want what we want. We really don't care about what other people need. We really come to a faith community like this because we hope there's something in it for us. Maybe it's the kids program. You have the best kids program, so we'll come here. Maybe it's for that reason and not so much because we want to have a relationship with God. When we're in this area that's really open, we've put in this thing here, what we recognize is that when we come like this, when we come where the ego is the dominating component, we often come with mess. By the way, everybody has mess. The only difference is when we're in this area here, the mess, it's a closed mess. We don't like anyone to know. Last night, I was at a very fancy dinner with Richard and Karen and my wife Karen and Kelly and Eric. It was Christians Against Poverty, a really flash do. It was a fundraiser. And, you know, the meals were really nice, you know, but they were like big plate, small thing in the middle type deal. I tried to hide my discontent, but people could see straight away, and I was like, what is this? Anyway, it was nice, you know, it was just nice. And then they bought dessert. And the dessert was same, big massive plate, about 50 spoons and knives and forks and stuff, and this little thing in the middle. And I was sitting there, and I was wearing a white shirt. Now, on the plate was this red sauce, right? You know how they just artistically spread it around the plate like? And I'm like, wow. I grabbed my spoon, and I don't even know if it was the right one, but I grab a spoon, and it slaps onto the plate by accident, and the red goes onto my white shirt. Immediately, I go into hide mode. Like, I'm down like this. I grab a napkin and I dip it into the water, and I secretly try to scrub this red thing, and I'm scrubbing it, and I'm looking around, hopefully nobody's noticed, this way and that way. And then when I look down, it looks like I'm wearing the Tongan flag, because there's this white and this red cross, and I'm like, whoa, no. How am I going to hide this? How am I going to hide? And by now, my friends at the table have seen what has happened, and they are killing themselves with laughter, and I'm trying to hide this mess. And I say to Richard, because they picked us up and we went into this do with them, and I said, look, we've either got to be first to leave, or we've got to be last to leave, because I ain't walking around like this. And they just laughing away. And so I find myself doing this sort of thing. I've got my hands like this, and we're walking out, and my hands, I feel like a monk from somewhere, and I'm walking, and, you know, people are like going to shake my hand. I go, oh, no, I don't do that. Sorry, no, don't. I'm just walking, you know, just trying to hide this mess. It's, I checked the shirt this morning. It's all gone. I sprayed Vanish on it last night. It's vanished. And I don't know if anybody relates to that, what it's like when you walk this, you start walking this journey, and you come to a place like this, and you walk into this building, and you feel like you have to hide a mess. And that's what it's like when your ego, I know, that's what I'm like, when my ego is the predominant factor, and I'm miles apart from God. I'm feeling like I'm always having to hide my mess. But then somebody from here, because something is happening here, somebody from here invites somebody who is unaware of what this is all about. They invite. And before you know it, the person they invite feels that they belong. And we've seen it happening here. They have an encounter with Jesus Christ. And they make a public demonstration of that encounter. And then what I notice is that when they've had that encounter with Jesus Christ and they start to become awake, the very first thing they want to do is go back here and grab people that they know are unawake. That they know are unawake. And they pull them through this. They want to pull them through this. And so we come into this area. And I want to tell you, when you become awake, the mess doesn't go away. The only difference when you become awake is that it now becomes an open mess. You're not walking around like this anymore. You're not grabbing your cell phone as a disguise for the mess that you're walking around with. It becomes an open mess. And as we become fully aware, what dies is our ego. We become dead to self, and it's only when we become dead to self that we become our true selves, because we become alive to God. Galatians 2:20 talks about this a lot. Romans 5:7-10, and this is the part I love about where I believe God is calling us and instructing us. And Moana, I don't know if you're able to draw just a circle around here, around the whole thing. Because Romans chapter 5, verse 7-10 tells us this. When we were utterly helpless, not when you started getting a few things right, not when you believed the right things, when we were utterly helpless, Christ came at just the right time and died for us sinners. God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still sinners. For since our friendship with God was restored by the death of his Son, while we were still his enemies, and I might say while we were still unawake, we will certainly be saved through the life of his Son. In other words, when people come through here and they want to walk this journey, once again, you might have been in this church for years and you haven't yet had an encounter, or you've forgotten what it means to have an encounter with Jesus Christ. When somebody comes through this area, when they're outside of it, they're not lost, they're not sinful, they're not wrong, they're simply unawake. And God's love surrounds the whole thing, according to Paul. While you are unawake, you are safe in God's love. While you feel you are so far from God, you are safe in God's love, according to what Paul is saying. At the end of the story of Jonah, he finds himself here, where he's having an encounter with God. And God is saying to him, Jonah, and he's pleading with Jonah. And I wonder in many ways, I wonder if this is where Papsda finds itself as we draw to the close of this year, 2017. We have had many encounters with God this year, and many in previous years. If we had time to recount the ways that God has been leading this faith community, throughout the various leadership seasons, it points to one word, and that's journey. But it's not just a journey for a journey's sake. No, a journey that is going somewhere. And I want you to hear, once again, these words from Jess. If you were here last week, but I want you to hear them again, because I think there is something happening here. That when things happen, poetry starts to blossom, songs start to get written. And we're seeing it happen right here in Papsda, so thank you, Jess. Let's give her a hand.
O sleeper, though your bones are tired and you can't be inspired, what has transpired before you is beyond your reach. I may teach of a God, but you're tired. O sleeper, though your body may ache or your eyes be glued shut, in my gut I know something just maybe needs changing. O sleeper, though your soul cries that you've had enough, I don't mean to diminish. Your year has been rough. No, the stuff you were created with wasn't made to be asleep. So I'll keep on asking you, oh sleeper, are you comfortable? Because staying in your comfort zone leaves you prone to being blown in whatever direction the wind may be going. Are you comfortable? Oh sleeper, close your eyes. This world sells you lies. Did I rise for you to just sleep? O sleeper, we're not lions made to roar, not just snore. You may have heard all this before, but again I'll implore you, wake up. O sleeper, your safety is merely an illusion, the devil's collusion with seclusion and confusion to convince you that the truth is you were made to be asleep. O sleeper, dreaming is wonderful till you realize it's pretend made to send you into complacency, forgetting what you were made to be. O sleeper, are you still comfortable? O sleeper, I have plans for you. If you knew where I'd travel to rescue you from slumber, but numbers turn to minutes, turn to hours, you're still sleeping. O sleeper, to unleash your potential, you can't be influential if your preferential existential belief is to sleep. O sleeper, my God is a God of awakenings. Your sleep may have taken his name from your lips, but his hands never slipped. When whipped, he never lost grip over you. O sleeper, the power God gives to us freely is really this easy. You can choose to wake up. To awaken to his power, don't let your sleep devour. This hour, the choice is yours. O sleeper, wake up.
Thank you, Pastor Jess. That was awesome. What if Papsda is standing where Jonah stood many centuries ago? And God is saying to us, should I not have compassion on Manukau, this great city of over 500,000 people, where over 100,000 people live in crowded conditions, where 180,000 people are living in the most socio-economically deprived areas of New Zealand, where over 200,000 people are earning less than $30,000 per year, and where over 60% of those people live right here around us in Papatoi, Otara. Where over 18,000 police investigations into family violence in 2016 took place, remembering that according to the It's Not Okay group, 73% of family violence in Manukau goes unreported. Our faith community sits right in the midst of thousands of people who don't know their right hand from their left. Could it be that the more that God has shown us in 2017 is the launch pad for the more that he has for us in 2018? Could it be? Could it be that we stand poised at the entrance to the promised land, God's ever-expanding kingdom? Could it be that God is calling more of us within this faith community to awaken to what he is doing right here in Manukau? And could it be that it is our awakening that will speak to the nations of poverty that exist here, that speak to the nations of hardship, that speak to the nations of hunger, that speak to the nations of parentlessness? Could it be that it is our awakening that will help them find salvation, that will help them come awake, rather than what religion does, which is seek destruction? See, this really isn't about the whale. But we all have a whale that distracts us from being awake because we think the story's about the whale. What is your whale? I got a confession. Not so long ago, I was the most homophobic person you'd ever meet. Seriously. I know all the jokes. Used to laugh at them a lot. And when I was younger, we'd do not nice things to people in that community. But as I've been challenged to come awake, as I've been challenged to come out of being unawake and being unaware, but to walk into God's kingdom, I stand here today and I tell you, man, I have love for the LGBTQI+A community. And I don't even see them like that anymore. They're not a label to me. God is teaching me what it means to be human, what it means to be connected to my fellow human being. And he's been teaching me as I've been coming awake and opening my heart to God's leading, that it's all about connecting to people and it's all about connecting to God. New seasons are like a new stage on which new poetry and new songs breathe life into new beginnings. And the song that I'd love you to join in and sing was written, I believe, not by one person, but by the multitude of experiences that we have right here in our community. This new song, Awaken, is a song written right here in the heart of our faith community. It's a Papsda song, written not by one person, but born out of our combined experiences of God's heart for restoration and reconciliation, and the freedom release from bondage that this brings. So, our lead servant, Pastor Norman, gathered us together on Monday morning and he said, we are going to have a baptism on December 9. And so we're going to have a baptism on December 9. The least of our worries is that we have nobody on our list for baptism. That's the least of our worries. But there's a baptism on December 9 for somebody here who wants to become awake. There's a baptism on December 9 for somebody who wants and feels and knows that they are having an encounter with Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter that we don't have anyone on the list for December 9, because we believe God is leading this, and on December 9 we will have a baptism. And I want to call you, if you are here, we've already had a call this morning, and we better get used to this, because an awakened church is an ecclesia. It's not a club. An ecclesia is more like a military unit that are on the move. And there's a call to us to become awake. Whether you've been here for 30 years, whether you've been here for 3, doesn't matter. The call is to awaken. And I'm going to just put it out there. If there is somebody that feels that December 9 is for you, that this encounter, you're having an encounter with Jesus and you believe December 9 is for you, will you come down the front? I want to pray for you. And if there are people here who feel the call to come alive and to come awake while we're singing this song that I believe God gave us for us, will you come down and let's sing together? Unfortunately, the architecture of this place keeps us apart, but it's just architecture. We can be together. And so I'm going to ask, and if there's anybody who wants to support the people that come down here to sing this song with us, to be prayed over over awakening, to be prayed over the people that feel December 9 is for you, then come down the front. Come, just come. Come. Let's sing.
Your kingdom now has come. Awaken me. Awaken me. Awaken me. Awaken me.
Lord, that's our prayer from the bottom of our hearts. Often we don't know our right hand from our left. We don't know why we think the way we think. We often don't delve into the depths of what it means to be human. And so we just stand in this place and we cry out, would you awaken us? Would you just wake us up to what it means to be human and what it means to be connected to you? And may that just fuel us for the call that you have on our community, Lord. For those who know and feel that they're asleep, but have come forward, Lord, their heart is to be awake. And if there's anybody here who has come forward, and they've come forward because they're having an encounter with you, and they want to make a public declaration of their stand with you in your kingdom, and they want to become awake, Lord, may that happen on December 9. And I just pray that we will become a faith community that won't just be good at talking, but in our awakeness, that we won't be able to help ourselves, but bring others to an awakening with you. And these people that have come down the front, Lord, for a special prayer of awakening, I just want to pray on them. Lord, whatever is happening in their life, whatever the challenges are, whatever the hidden messes that they're dealing with, Lord, may they know that you see all. You've already forgiven and you love all. And all that is left to do is to believe that they are already surrounded by your love. That your love has been there all along since the day that they breathed. As a matter of fact, the Bible goes even further. From before the world began, your love surrounded them. And it will continue to surround them even after they die and breathe their last. I think of Cedric, that your love surrounds him and his family. Everything is in your love. And so, Lord, we pray for an awakening this morning. Please awaken us. Use us. This is my prayer in your name. Amen.